How we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Everybody going well? Hey, how many stars did Dr. Fox get in his photo shoot? He only got a 1-star recruit. I would have thought he'd be a 6-star recruit in that photo shoot. That was pretty sweet looking.
Wear those uniforms?
Huh?
Wear those uniforms?
I don't think there's one of those made.
Thankfully.
Outside the box thinking right there, though. I don't know. Hey, what?
You guys have worn more shirts. That camouflage stuff not you.
I didn't wear it. There's interesting. But everybody has like such different thoughts on uniforms fashion, right? So I see the runways, and sometimes there's stuff on the runway that I don't know that I would wear that, thank goodness, because I certainly couldn't afford it either. So, No, but you watch that stuff comes on, and you see people like you see it on the news sometimes, and you see that stuff. I mean, I coached one of the top fashion models, Heath Hutchins. Heath Hutchins. Google Heath Hutchins, and you'll be happy you did. You'll be very happy you did. Heath Hutchins played for me at Mississippi State.
Just Googled it too, so, you know.
He was our punt. He played for me at Mississippi State.
You went straight to images too.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. He was punter for Mississippi State.
Of course you love him already, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's a high-end fashion model. Huh? I mean, you got to know people. It's all about who you know. What do we got? Anything about football or no? Life, just in general. Yeah, you know what? I was somewhat pleased. The guys, how they went after the day. I thought guys played hard. I thought there was like you said, when you step in the stadium, like I expect everybody to go hard every day. I don't expect I hate the term I'm a gamer because I want to see you do it all the time. I want to see you do it every day. I want to see you perform at a high level and compete every day to be your best and push yourself. But also, though, when you do step in the stadium, there should be a slight. I mean, there's got to be a step up of intensity. You just, it's like, hey, if I go on a morning run, and then I go in a race, there's a little more intensity because you're trying to beat other people, and just that anything of just that slight step up once you hit the stadium. And so I was pleased with that. I think there's, the key is talking to guys about what their understanding of what's important, which is the guys that are getting ready to play. Guys get caught up, and guys are earning reps, and so there's of separating yourself from other guys. There's guys to me that I've played a lot of football that I'm comfortable with how they're going to perform on Saturdays, and I'm looking at them to make maybe not as big improvements, but slight improvements every day in how they're getting better. And then we're looking for guys that when we step on the field on a Saturday, they're ready to go start taking reps in a game. And I thought you saw some separation on that. And we want to see how the guys respond. The guys that are, guys that aren't quite ready, are they going to take a step to get ready? The guys that are 10-play guys, are they looking to take steps forward over the next couple of, 2 weeks or 10 more days of spring ball to get to 15 to 20 plays, and then hopefully from 20 to 30 play a game guys, as regular rotators into season. But overall, some good and bad, and some areas you can see that we still have, some guys, we're still really, really young and inexperienced on the offensive line. But, we still have a long time till we have to play a game, and you see guys that are not ready to play but are making big strides.
How do you...
Oh.
Thanks. How do you kind of balance that intensity and asking for it? We see Felipe not being scared to lower his shoulder, run over a guy. How do you balance that with keeping them?
Our practice the other night? Well, you got to be smart too, though.
But is that what you want to see when they're out there?
Yeah, I don't. I like the intensity, but I also, to me, I talk to our guys is practice, have great intensity, great physicality, great toughness, but also practice smart. And I want to see. I'm much more interested, like a guy like Felipe. I want to see that on 3rd down and 2 next year, which you started to see at the end of the year when the game's on the line. But to me, it's our guys, which I think they have. I mean, hey, you got a shot to make this crushing block on someone that's not looking. Don't take it in practice. You got a shot to lay out a receiver. I'd rather not do that at practice, where you might do it in the game, even in the scrimmage situation. And I think our guys they understand that. How we've practiced, I think as well. Even talking to Todd, we don't tackle very often, but I thought we tackled pretty well in the scrimmage, which is a good sign. So what we're teaching and what we're doing is translating for when it is time to tackle. You just don't for player safety and health, but it is translating what we're doing and how we're teaching things into still having success on the field and practicing smart without losing intensity and toughness.
Were there any plays maybe that stood out, or did anyone show you something maybe that you had not seen?
No. Were you guys there? Oh, so you guys got to see it all. I don't know. What did you do, you guys? What did y'all think? I thought, the things you're pleased is guys you're expecting to make plays made plays. I think our quarterback and receivers made some pretty good plays. If you flip the ball to Kadarius Toney, something exciting is going to happen. Good and bad. Who knows where he's going. So, but the positive of that is, moving forward is I don't need to see lots of that. You know what I mean? It's, we talk about it is I could sit there on Saturday scrimmage and we could sit there and have P. Ryan carry the ball 32 times. But, I could, just get it 2 touches for the Kadarius Toney, but we already know that stuff that's going to happen. How do we execute the other things? And so a lot of our focus is always on maybe, not this, hey, we can get a lot of pressure on this blitz. Great. Can we get pressure when we're not blitzing? You know what I mean? Or, hey, we can pound the ball. Hey, we got a great one-on-one matchup with Van Jefferson. Great. Can we execute other parts of the game? And so I thought there were a lot of positives in guys that we knew had experience, and to see them actually continue to grow and even get better at what they've done. And I think a lot that's my responsibility as the head coach. The offensive staff, they want to do whatever it takes to drive the ball and score points. The defensive staff wants to completely shut us down. I want to make sure we're developing everything we need on both sides of the ball. I'm not concerned of whether or not the offense or the defense wins a scrimmage as much as are we developing as the program. The offensive guys all want to win. The defensive guys all want to win, and I'm in between wanting to make sure we develop.
Speaking of Toney, is he becoming more comfortable in the scheme and maybe setting himself up for more chances, or does that even matter based on what you're saying?
Well, I think it's critical because, when he can be comfortable being a wide receiver, you got to play him as a wide receiver, and when you do that, that's when all of the other things that he does becomes dangerous. You know what I mean? If he's a guy, hey, when he's in the game, you're just just finding a way to hand the ball to him or throw him a screen or one of these deals. It's very different than when he can be a productive every down player as a position player. And I think he is making strides at that. And I think, that's one of the things he does a great job of trusting what we do, which is, I think, within schemes, we're going to make sure he gets his touches, but him trusting that just, maybe we're not doing constantly, it's like a P. Ryan trusting he's going to get his carries, but we're going to work on other things right now as part of his game to continue development, and Kadarius is working hard that way.
Hey, Dan, I've heard coaches say in the past that, like, when it comes to, like, college QBs, once they get to college, they kind of are who they are in terms of accuracy. How, like, in your experience, like, how much can a guy develop his accuracy?
Well, a lot. I don't Yeah. I wouldn't agree with that statement. I think guys get a lot more accurate when they get to college because they get, if they're well coached, they're learning a lot of little technical things that are going to make them more accurate. I don't know that can have you have a lot more arm strength. I mean, you're going to obviously build part of that up. I would say that might be you kind of a little bit, you are who you are. But accuracy, I think, something that has a lot to do with coaching and quarterbacks in college. And now there's a lot of different ways you can look at accuracy. To me, a lot of people maybe look at accuracy through completion percentage, which is that has absolutely nothing to do with that at all. Accuracy to me is ball placement. And I think there's a lot to do of developing and coaching that goes on with ball placement.
And so, like, what do you put like the highest premium on when you are like recruiting high school QBs?
One of the things that I like to look for, as far as physical skills, like if you look, there's a lot of different things, to be honest with you. Mental, physical, toughness, leadership, character, work ethic. The ability to process information, all those are huge. But when throwing, you want to see, do you have a natural release? Am I going to have to change your throwing motion drastically? That's harder to do. Does the ball kind of jump out of your hands? Do you have natural arm strength? Are you mechanical? And what I mean by mechanical is you're a great thrower when you're completely on balance, or can you actually flick a ball and things. Well, you want to look at things that are hard to coach and teach. Like actually, you can teach. Now, I'm running. I'm kind of sliding to my left, off balance, hip square to line of scrimmage, and I can just flick the ball that way, right? And I can spin out of my hand nicely. I throw a spiral, and it's complete, and accurate that way. That's arm talent. So you kind of can look for those things. I like throwing spirals. Much easier to teach someone to be accurate than to throw a spiral. Some guys, it just spins off their hands naturally. Other guys, you really got to work at it, which is kind of crazy. But scientifically, I don't know. There's some guys that just kind of it spins as a tight spiral, and that's a big benefit because that helps with accuracy. Obviously, it's not the defining factor, but it's harder to get guys to learn how to throw a spiral than it is to teaching them to be accurate with balance and footwork and even changing their throwing motion.
Robert, Felipe said he's been working on his accuracy. Have you seen improvement in that area with him?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's gotten a lot better. I think, part of it is, I think he's done a good job working off his frustration, of, if he makes a bad throw, he doesn't make 3 bad throws, right? I mean, if he makes a bad throw, you look at him and say, all right, that was a bad throw. Guess what? It's not real hard to see that was a terrible throw, so don't worry about that one anymore. Worry about the next one, where I think he probably used to get frustrated with it.
And the quarterbacks that were here last year talked about how comfortable they are now in the offense, much more comfortable. Has that been evident in the way they've performed this spring?
Well, I think so. You can coach and you can teach a lot more, and you can worry about teaching other bits of technique and fundamentals when you understand the offense. If you're spending the whole time just trying to learn the offense, that your mind is not thinking about decision. It obviously helps with accuracy and decision making, the quickness, how fast you can do it, and that helps when you know what you're doing offensively instead of worrying about the scheme and just the first time learning it all. I think that's obviously is a big help.
Sticking with Frank's there, what specifically has he done to be a little bit more accurate?
Well, I think he does a good job with balance. I think understanding the offense helps so you can get to your decisions quicker and you're on time. And when you do that, if I know where I'm going with the ball, it's a lot easier then to figure out where I want to place it than I'm just trying to figure out where to go with it, And so I think he's done a much better job with that. I think he's tightened up. When we got here, had a little bit longer delivery, which is hard for taller guys. I mean, one of the things, everyone thinks the bigger and taller you are, the better it is as a quarterback. I don't know that that's the case because means you have longer, just physics. Your arms are longer, and it takes a longer time to get the ball there. So he's done a decent job tightening up his motion, and by tightening it up, obviously the less moving parts, the less chance of a mistake.
And then when you say ball placement, what do you think when you're talking about ball placement? You're talking about throwing a guy open, throwing it away from a defender, getting a guy in stride.
You talk to Coach Johnson, he'll tell you ball placement beats every coverage. I mean, there's always a part of the body that's open. So, ball placement can be anywhere from where on the body I'm throwing it, what direction I'm throwing it, whether I'm leading him, whether I'm sitting him down, where, 6 inches is all the difference in the world, which seems pretty crazy if you're throwing the ball 30 to 40 yards, but the difference between, 30 yards here and 30 yards here is a major, major difference of where you place that ball and the accuracy in which you throw it.
How much more reliable has Brad Stewart become, and what kind of impact can he have this year?
He's gotten better. I think, in understanding what we do, I think he's an athletic guy, obviously a big hitter, and he has a great skill set that he can play physical and tackle, but he's very athletic, which, he can make plays, whether it's against the run or pass. He has the athleticism to put himself in position and make plays. I think with that, the understanding of the defensive scheme to make sure you're also putting yourself in a position to make more plays helps. And, especially where he's playing that's a position that, if you make a mistake, it can result in 7 points for the other team because, if you go the wrong way, you're the last line of defense back there. And so I think he's grown, and I think he's built the confidence in doing that of not just saying, hey, I have athleticism to make plays, but making sure I'm putting myself in the position of where I need to be for the defense. Whether it entails me making a play or not, I think one of the toughest things with a lot of young guys is there's a lot of things that you need to do that you're not going to make a play. That, by you doing what you're supposed to do, somebody else is going to make the play. And you got to understand that's a positive thing, that by what you're doing is maybe taking something away from the defense. By you being in the right position means they're not going to throw to your side. Somebody else is going to have to make the play, but that's what the defense is designed to make them do.
I know you don't pay attention to the rankings and all that too much, recruiting. But it's probably fair to say that the most talented guys end up with 5 stars a lot of times. Maybe not. But there are none on this roster. I mean, how would you evaluate the talent level of the roster? Because it seems
we're okay.
It seems it's pretty solid.
Yeah, we have some talented guys. We have guys that are working to develop. I don't know. I thought Dak Prescott and Alex Smith are both pretty good quarterbacks career-wise that I've had. They're 3 stars.
Well, they're definitely exceptions. I'm just
combined.
But the 5-star guys are a lot of times.
Sometimes. I mean, well, one, like if you look at I look at this, is you could put on Percy Harvin's high school film. It doesn't take a lot of talent to evaluate that. That's easy. Anybody could have given him 5 stars. So I think that helps that way. But I think our talent is pretty decent. I mean, we're always trying to get better. Again, we're constantly trying to recruit who we rate as the best players, if that makes sense. And our rating system might be different than whoever gave someone stars. But, what's funny is, like, all the different people that give stars, they don't all have the same person. Some, a 5-star one place might be a 4-star somewhere else. So I think part of that is in the eye of the beholder, but I think our talent level's decent. I think we always got to improve. At some positions, probably you want to continue to improve more than others, but to me, we want to create not just great talent, but great depth across the board. so that we have more than one great player at a position, and you can roll guys through and get them going. We'll see off of where our talent level's at off of the draft. They still make mistakes. Those guys that they get a lot more resources to make good decisions than we do. At the NFL, they get a lot more information than we're able to. We're trying to recruit guys. They're evaluating and drafting, and but I think our talent level's decent. I think we can get better.
Part of what I'm leading to or driving to is how much has this team kind of molded itself in this 15 months? I mean, last year you'd had them in Nick Savage's program for like 3 months, and now 15 months and going forward.
I think it's very different. I think the team's expectations different. I think their development are at a very different stage. Their confidence is at a very different level. I thought, maybe this time last year there were probably a lot of questions. There were guys buying in, and I'm going to try to buy in, and we'll see how it goes. There, like I said, last year there probably wasn't resistance. Where this year, I think they've realized if I buy in, really good things will happen to me. We had several guys that were probably really not on any list that declared and had the opportunity to be pretty high draft picks, in just one offseason, from kind of a no-name person no one's ever heard of to a draft pick. So I think that buy-in on the team, certainly those guys look and say, okay, last year I wasn't resistive. I was going to try it, and this year I'm bought in.
You mentioned last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago something about quality of life with assistant coaches when you were talking about Todd Grantham. How have you balanced that idea with the need to recruit at a high level, particularly at a place like Florida?
Well, I think a lot of the recruiting keeps changing that way. That makes it really hard to have much of a quality of life. I think NCAA they've had a dead period in July, which I think is good for the health of coaches. I don't always know the recruiting calendar doesn't always match up, but it's hard to do, right? I mean, you're trying to recruit high school kids that are on one calendar, right? From a college that's on a different calendar, and you're recruiting high school kids around the country, and all of them are on different calendars, and every college is on a different calendar. So, it's hard to match all of that up. I do think it is a big challenge to affect quality of life, and you got to live with it, and you got to try to adapt to it as best as possible, and let our coaches, because you be hypocritical, right? Sit out there and say, hey, we believe in family. We believe in teaching these young men to come to our program, not just to be a great football player, but to be great men and be successful in life, and how to live your life a certain way, how to be a great husband and how to be a great father. And then we don't do that in our own lives is pretty hypocritical. So I think, I work hard on scheduling to try to make sure our coaches get to be husbands and fathers as well.
Kind of building off that, if I understood correctly, you basically worked the football schedule around this last week.
Well, as local, it's interesting, and I don't know why in Alachua County they don't. I mean, the university is a big part of Alachua County. Why they wouldn't match up spring breaks, but either way, I'm not on the university board to make that decision. I'm not on the Alachua County School Board to make that decision, but it would make sense to match them up, right? Even if public schools don't want it. I told my wife going to Oak Hall, my kids go to Oak Hall, I said, boy, you'd probably increase attendance a lot if you matched up spring break so that you could spend time with your family when one's off, the other's off. But we went, I did this week, I wanted to make sure that, we give our coaches some time off when when our players aren't here on their spring break to get away. But if you have kids, your kids are in school. Well, this week your kids aren't in school, but we're in the middle of practice, so we gave everybody a couple days off so that they could have a long weekend and go spend time and be a husband and a father.
What's kind of the origin of that philosophy for you? Was there a coach that did similarly when you were coming through the ranks, or?
No, I just to me, I always try to remember what it is to be an assistant coach, and I try to remember what's important. We don't usually work on Halloween night. And it's interesting for guys that are new that have worked for me, like, holy cow, I've never taken my kids trick-or-treating. Well, you know what? My dad took me trick-or-treating, and I kind of remember that. I don't remember a lot of things from childhood, and I probably don't remember a specific night of it. I just remember that happening. And I couldn't tell you what I dressed up as or any of that stuff, but you remember going and do that. There's a lot of little things like that I want to make sure our coaches' kids, remember, I want my kids when they get older, I certainly don't want to say, hey, but don't ever, my dad was never ever around. And, I think, obviously our job makes that difficult already. So my job is to try, as the head coach, is to try to, as best we can, ease that and let everybody try to be dads every once in a while.
You mentioned being a father twice, then you just mentioned your dad. Just what's the last week been like for you with his passing? It's
been tough. He was sick for quite a while. And so you knew it was coming. I was very fortunate. I got up to go say goodbye. He lasted a couple of days after that. I found out actually right on the way into practice on Saturday morning, 2 Saturdays ago, that he passed away that morning. And obviously it's a really tough deal. I mean, my mom's still around. I haven't lost a parent before, but it's a tough deal. It's a beautiful service. I was very thankful that I was able to go attend, go up and attend his funeral, and get to spend some time with the family and do that. So I think that was really nice.
Did you credit him for? Is he like your football? Did he get you involved in sports? All that?
No. I credit him for being. He's a great dad. He was a really good person. As Megan and I both did the eulogy at the mass, and one of the things she said is, "Boy, never heard him say an unkind word." But I mean, if you go back and look, when I was like 6 and 7 years old playing Little League, he's always standing behind the team as a coach. He was there to try to help coach the team. I mean, he was always a huge fan, huge supporter. To be honest with you, he didn't even play high school football, so I mean, football's my love. But I think both my parents did an amazing job of exposing me to a lot of different things, and everybody in my family, to find out what you love. And I do what I love. And so I think my dad was probably a much bigger fan maybe than he was a football influence. He was a big football fan, and he enjoyed it that way. But I think he was, he was a good person. I mean, he just genuinely was a good person. I don't know that he ever walked, as I said, I don't think he ever walked into a room. Every room he ever walked into, I say he left with a lot more friends than he walked into. I don't know if he had many bad days. He enjoyed life. I mean, he had a good time, and it's a great way to live your life, to make sure you're enjoying every day of it. You wake up in the morning and be really happy about what you're doing, and if you're not, boy, that's a shame, and it'd be a tragedy to go through life not waking up every day and just to go enjoy what you're doing. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. That was not bad.
No, I thought I was going to.
Good ball placement.
I was on the spot there. Yeah, good ball placement. So Georgia recently scheduled Florida State and their Clemson. I mean, way down the road. I was looking at the dates and going, man, I'll be unemployed by then. But no.
Chances are me too. If you look at the odds. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
I know you don't have a huge hand in the schedule, but I'm sure you have some input. Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, how aggressively do you want to see Florida's schedule going forward?
We play Florida State, so people are trying to catch up to us with how tough our schedule is. To be honest with you, I mean, we play Florida State every year, right? I mean, people made big. I guess if Georgia's playing them, they're trying to catch up to us, I guess. and toughen their schedule, because we play one of the toughest schedules. I think, boy, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody non-conference next year. We're playing Miami and Florida State.
I just mean long term. Do you
who's doing
see? Would you like a home and home? Like they're maybe looking at Oklahoma. That's a report. I don't know if it's true. Would you like to get something?
Well, like I said, we already
that?
have that with Florida State.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that probably gets looked down upon. Would it be better to drop Florida State and schedule Oklahoma? That probably wouldn't go over so well. So already have that in scheduling. Scott and I talk about it. We play in the Southeastern Conference, so we're already playing one of the toughest schedules in the country. Within recruiting philosophy, one of the other tricky things we do is we play, the chance every other year we're playing a home game away from home already. We want to make sure we keep enough home games here in the Swamp for our fans to come see our guys play. I mean, this is one of the greatest stadium in college football, to be able to make sure we're playing enough games in there. So I think that's what's always tricky. We're always trying to do what's best for the program and play games that are that fit the program. I've always been under that deal. I love, I want to do what we think's best for the program. And I think when you look scheduling wise, even since I've been here, we try to do that with who we've scheduled. And also try to make it intriguing for people and fun. I mean, like we have South Florida coming up on the schedule. That's probably a much bigger game in the state of Florida than it would be to people in, Montana. But they're more concerned about the Montana State game. That's a big game for people in Montana. It's probably not as big a deal for people here. So I think we've tried to really pay attention to schedule that way and make a schedule that's good for the program and good for the Gator fans.
Hey, Dan, at this point in the spring and knowing this is your last time in front of fans for a while, what's the anticipation level to actually get out there in front of the fans?
Well, in the spring game's a lot of fun. Hopefully we have a great crowd. It's a lot of fun for them to come, kind of get a kickoff on this year's team. It's free. So it's no one can complain about ticket prices that day. And we try to make it a really fun activity. I think it's a huge deal for our players because, one, we're going to put guys out there on the field that haven't played in front of a big crowd like that before. And so it puts pressure on them. But I think it's also a really fun experience for our fans to come kind of see the future. And they get to see these, there's a bunch of guys that, hey, this guy was, as we get back to stars, this guy was a 4-star. And, now he's coming into his own to be an every down player for us, and they get to go see him. That, last year they didn't get to see him play a whole lot. But let's go see what the future holds with a lot of young players. So I think that makes it a lot of fun and hopefully creates excitement for the fans and to get excited about the season this upcoming year and get us ready to go. Good deal. Thank y'all.